Good evening. Welcome to our show again of Let's Talk Chiropractic. I'm Dr. Russell Hoke here at the Degenhart Chiropractic Center. We're happy to be with you again tonight. We have a guest today. Claudine Gallagher is a patient of mine whom I've just met a few weeks ago under some unfortunate circumstances, but has agreed to give us some history of her experience with chiropractic. She's from Atlanta, Georgia, presently, and I'll turn that over to Claudine.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on the show,
Sure.
and you've been a huge help to me and my family. I just, heard God saying that my mom needed a chiropractor, and my dad reached out, and then the whole wheel started, and that's how they ended up finding you, and giving her relief in her situation, and then I needed some relief. So, yeah, it's a blessing to have you in our lives, and I'm just so blessed to be on this show.
Thank you. We'll be right back. Chiropractic. Once again, I'd like to thank Claudine for taking the time to come and do this show today. Asked her to do this because she has a personal history with chiropractic, and so does her family. So she speaks very well, and I thought she'd be a good example of what we do in chiropractic and how we approach things. But she'll give you her story. So we'll turn this over to Claudine.
Well, thank you so much. And like I was starting to say, like even though I've only known you for a very short period of time, you and your family mean a lot to me. It doesn't take a long time to make an impact in someone's lives. Sometimes it could be quick, and you guys will forever be part of our family.
Thank you.
You made an impact on my mother and my father and myself, and just to know that you made a comment last week that has resonated with me so much, that you said, because of your mother and how sometimes you would feel one way going in, but always leaving feeling filled and overjoyed, leave when you left, and that my mother made that kind of impact on you, and other clients as well, that you just want to continue doing like what you love. And that just resonated with me so much, because it, when you did the adjustment on me, because I was in so much pain, just having that relief instantly, just it was just like, oh, thank you, Jesus, for bringing him into our lives. And yeah, it just was just an honor to get to know you, and that the fact that you took the time to come to our needs, like where we were at in that moment. Yeah, so I just want to thank you for
You're
that.
welcome.
And
My pleasure.
So going back, I've always been involved with chiropractic since a little kid. My best friends, their father and mother were chiropractors, and we would get adjusted all the time. And high school, college, I was very in tune with my body when something felt off, and I knew probably more than the average person when it came to chiropractic.
Sure.
And we also have family, like extended family. Actually, the Degenharts are a part of our extended family on my father's side. So it's an honor to even be on the show. And at first I didn't even know, like, until I made the connection and walking out, I was like, wait, like, we're keeping it close. So
It's funny how small the world is.
it is. So, but I've always just known, like, if I'm not feeling right, or, even sinuses are off or a cold, I'm like, I got to get adjusted. Because when you line everything up, then everything can flow. And it's like, people don't connect that. They think, oh, if I'm hurting, and it's like, no, you actually waited too long to go to the chiropractor. And then they think, oh, one adjustment, I feel better, I'm good. No, you keep going back so the body can readjust itself to its proper place, to know that this is where I need you to stay, and stop going back to being out of alignment and staying over here, because then it's going to go back to, hurting eventually.
Right.
So you got to keep going back and keep going back. And people are like, they stop going. And it's just like, no, you got to keep going to get that full healing, get that alignment. And people will be surprised if you go to the chiropractor before like all the flu season, like everyone said, like, you're not going to get sick, or not as much, because you have all that stuff aligned. Like, my sinuses are clear when I go to the chiropractor. If they start to be out of alignment, I definitely go. But I know when I'm out of alignment instantly. And I even called, I was like, this, and this. And I came over and you were like, yep, that's exactly what's out.
Well, and as chiropractors, when I practice in my practice, I try to get people down to the least amount that they can extend themselves to and come back in before the symptoms come on. And some people were unable to do that. Some people don't want to do that. That's fine. But that's what we try to do. And usually it's every 3 to 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. And that's not laborsome on their budget or their time commitment, but it helps keep them healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, like, with me, and we'll be going more into this and further, but I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which also my mother had. And it's so hard that I actually said that correctly, because my mother just passed the other day. And I'm so glad that she's no longer in pain. But you were able to give her so much relief as she was bedbound. And I just want to thank you for that, because I would, when she would just do the and witness, like, just seeing that relief during the last few days. I appreciate that, but we'll go more into that. And the journey of just staying healthy with having an autoimmune.
Yes. Okay. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our show, Let's Talk Chiropractic. We're here with Claudine today. She's given us some background on her and some experience with chiropractic and situations that she's been in. And I know you were in the military and had an incident there where you needed chiropractic care. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes, that was a very, very pivotal moment in my career. And it was actually, we were doing our PT test, where you had to run your 2 miles, do your push-ups and sit-ups, and just make sure that you were physically fit to stay to the standards. And I just remember in the middle of the 2 mile run, I just had the most excruciating pain in my lower back. And I was just like, no, keep fighting to the end, because I was like, I did not want to redo the test, because I was like, I am not redoing this, because you have to redo all of it. So I pushed through, and I remember when we went back to, get freshened up before we had to report back to class, because I was there for officer school. I was transitioning from enlisted to an officer. And all of a sudden, while we were all back and I was waiting for my turn to go in and freshen up, I remember sitting there and my back just locked up, and I said, I can't move. And it was just excruciating. And I was like, no, seriously, like, and the first thing I said, I said, I need to go to a chiropractor. I didn't say go to the hospital, go to the chiropractor. And of course, military, there's protocol. So they had to send me to the hospital first. And they had to give me, they're like, oh, we'll do shots of morphine. I said, I don't want morphine.
Right.
I want a chiropractor.
Right.
And the morphine did nothing. And like I was still in the same amount of pain. And I said, you know what? I'm going to just go pay out of my pocket because they're not listening to me. And then it tightened up even more. And I had to be carried in by one of my battle buddies. I'll never forget that. They carried me in and they were like, shouldn't you be at a hospital? And I was like, no, I told the hospital I needed to be here.
Yeah.
And this, I was at a base in Georgia. So, I've never been to this chiropractor. I was like, please, God, let this be the right place. Mm-hmm. And I'm screaming and just like bloody murder as they're like, even the table was just, they hadn't even touched me yet. And the table's going down just to get me to where I needed to be. They did the x-rays and they were like, whoa, mm-hmm. like, yeah, you're really like everything is messed up. So they adjusted me, and obviously I had to do a lot more follow-ups, but I walked out. No one was holding my hand, nothing. Like I got carried in, like full, like carried in, like battle buddy carrying, mm-hmm. not a foot on the ground. Right. And I remember everyone in the lobby was like, take her first. Yeah. Like I know my appointment's next, but take her first. And I walked out, and that made me even more of a believer in chiropractic from that moment. And I went to them for quite some time, even when I moved, and I was out of that training and stuff. And it was like a 3-hour drive to get to them, but wow. I believed in them so much, and they gave me so much relief, because it's not just about, aligning the spine. It aligns everything. Right. And then later on, I found out that moment, that episode, I found out years later, because they didn't do an MRI that day. It was my first episode of having a MS flare-up. And I found out in 2016 that I was also diagnosed with MS. And I said, well, I got to stay on top of this and, take care of my health and make sure that I am walking my whole life. I don't right. have to be the same story as everybody else that ends up in a wheelchair, and how to be preventative. People are always trying to take care of things on the back end. Yes. It's like, why don't we start taking care of things on the front end? Yeah. And you don't also, like, a lot of people also think like, oh, well, I'll do that when I get older. It's like, no, start when you're young. Like, we should yes. be doing this throughout your whole life, just adjusting, you see people with, hunched over backs, and it's like, man, if they would have just saw a chiropractor or I'm not a chiropractor, mm-hmm. but it's like, I know so much about it from all the surroundings I've been, and I see just people's spines sideways, and then I'm like, don't you see that? Like, yeah. if you go to a chiropractor, that could be fixed, The
best part of preventing that is, as you said, starting early, starting before it gets to that degree, because there's a point at which some conditions, actually a lot of conditions, have developed physically that we can't reverse. Yeah. And then that presents a new limitation of what you're able to do, or yeah. even able to do at all, or comfortably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long did you go to this chiropractor then?
That one, like, okay, so officer school was 2012, and I went to them until like up to 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I was going to them for quite some time. Now, if I couldn't make that 3-hour drive, because that was 3 hours one way.
Wow.
So
Wow.
if I was going, it was an all-day
That's
event.
a commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they did the whole adjustment, and then they would do like all the muscle adjustments too.
Yes.
They had a his Dr. Chip was just certified in that, and that would give a lot of other just relief. That is like, man, if people would know how much more was involved in all this, they would do it more frequently as well.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
That's why I'm just so adamant about doing that on a consistent basis.
Yeah. Okay. We'll take a break right now. We'll be back in just a minute. And welcome back to Let's Talk Chiropractic. We're with Claudine, and we're going to have her try to finish off that episode that she had and other incidents that she's treated with chiropractic. So we'll turn that back over to you.
Okay. So, like I've mentioned before with the Army situation, I later on found out that I have multiple sclerosis, and I just knew I had to do something to, just stay to the point where I feel like relief. And I know that chiropractic is one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Right. I also go get massages and acupuncture and like all this stuff because it relieves that stress. But chiropractor does relieve stress. And it aligns the immune system and so much more that goes into that.
I'd like to break right here for just a minute and make a point that Claudine, as well as many other patients that we have with heart conditions, diabetes, lung conditions, we treat those patients with those diseases, not for those diseases.
Right.
Okay, because they're just as prone to physical neuromusculoskeletal conditions as anyone else is. So the old myth that we treat heart disease and loss of hearing and things, if that changes, that's incidental. We're looking at the spine to relieve pressure, pain, discomfort, treat specific conditions, herniated discs, subluxations, and those are our primary targets. So, okay. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no. And I'm glad that you said that because I don't want to give anyone the impression that that's what's happening, but it's good to have the preventative care and just to have the everyday like comfort and relief. So I own my own production company. It's a Christian film company, Claudine Marie Productions in Georgia, that God has just opened those doors to. And, I do the drones, I'm a certified scuba diver, I do the makeup, the FX makeup, and so much more, even children's books and all of that. But if I don't have comfort, how am I going to be able to go around and do all these things that God has given me the gifts and talents to do? And to do things in excellence for what God has called me to do, I need to be able to function. And for me to be able to function, I have to make sure that I'm keeping my body and my health in check. And so even this year, I've lost 38 pounds already, but I'm doing things intentionally. So I just, for anyone that's watching, I just hope that you just do things intentionally from like today. If you haven't done it intentionally in the past, from this moment on, take your health seriously, because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't help others, and do the things that God has called you to do, because you're not, you don't have the capability because you're not comfortable.
Stay physically fit and functionally fit.
Yeah. To have the energy to do that stuff.
And that's what we strive for too, and that's where we employ other other tools, and some other tools may be orthopedic surgery, maybe braces, maybe orthotics. We Once we get to a point where we've kind of stabilized the patient and are getting to more supportive care, those are the times that we really look to outside interest to help further improve their condition so that they can be more functionally fit comfortably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, it's so funny because I'm like, my heart's so big that I'm always just trying to help everybody with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone's like, "Oh, I have this pain," or have you gone to a chiropractor? Do you need a chiropractor's number? Or they'll be like, "Oh, I don't live in your area." Well, I have a friend that
Right.
lives in that area, or I can call this friend and maybe they know.
Right.
And I'm always doing that for like anything. So if it's not chiropractic related,
Right.
I'm doing it for whatever they need. And they're like, "Man, why are you doing that?" I said, "Because like God
Yeah.
just put it on my heart
It's
because
a good thing to do.
I just want to help people."
And it's funny how those circles connect, isn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
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 So
So. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to discuss on the show or like us to address on the show, please send them to the Degan Heart Clinic, West Broad Street in Hazleton. Those are always good topics that we can address and clarify, even comment on their treatment. So thank you for being with us. We really appreciate it, and have a good evening.